Hello, welcome back to Live Reality Games Podcast. My name is Steven, and it has been a hiatus, but Surviving Bloomington is back. And today I'm here with returning guest Mitch to talk about episode 10. Mitch, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I've got like a little bit of a scratchy throat, so I feel like I should apologize for that up front, but I'm spiritually renewed because I got another Surviving Bloomington episode in my system. It had been a long break, and I'm glad to be back.
Well, for those of you who are active and intensive and following along, I believe the most episode 11 may have came out last night, so we're a little bit behind the podcast, but I hope you forgive us. But I'm unspoiled. Mitch, are you unspoiled?
I am mostly unspoiled.
I'll take that as a victory. Now, Mitch, it's been a little bit since we've talked last. You came in for episode 4 where we got to see Megan and Jordan triumph with their idol plays. Tell me your thoughts about the season now that we're kind of wading into the merge.
I am extremely impressed by the quality and gameplay of this season. Hi, Adam. I'm really, really, really impressed. And it is an all-star season that should rank somewhere. If I were to rank it next to like a CBS version of the show, I'd probably say it feels sort of like a David versus Goliath. That's the sort of glee and energy I get every time I'm watching one of these episodes. And that's a testament to the players and to Casey as an editor and a host. It's been a delightful watch so far.
Now, remind me, you played season 4?
4.
Okay, and so you play with I believe Boogie, Megan, Jordan, right?
And Mia.
Mm-hmm. And Mia. And so talk me through your thoughts on how they've been playing this season so far.
Oh, and Rosie also.
And Rosie. Okay, so yeah, there's a large. I forgot there's such a large season 4 contingent still in the merge.
I knew going into this season that it was either going to be a season 4 bloodbath where the seasons 1 through 3 players look at the season 4 players and say they need to go, and it's just one after the other, or there was going to be a very strong season 4 presence post-merge. And I'm really happy it's fallen that way, because for me personally, it's a lot of fun to watch people that I've interacted with and played with. But it's been a really fun ride for me to watch the evolution and the parallels from my past season. They're all doing great. And I feel like every person who isn't a season 4 person is so dumb to let them stay in this game. Season 4 has a true grip on All-Stars, and I'm really thrilled about it.
So the only non-season 4 people then, we have Dallas, Hannah, Adam. Yeah, that's it for non-season 4, right?
There should be one more.
So we have Adam from season 3, Mia from 4, Rosie from 4, Jordan from 4, Hannah Survival Challenge, Megan Sparky from 4, okay, Griffin from 3, and Dallas from 2 and 3.
Yeah, Griffin.
And Boogie came from 3 and 4. So now, who has really stood out to you?
I said this the last time I was on the podcast, and I'm sticking true to this, I think, to the end. It's Rosie and it's Hannah for me personally.
Really?
They I think are. I would be very shocked if one of them doesn't win, or if at a minimum one of them I think will make it to final tribal council, if not both.
This is a little bit of spoiler for what we're going to talk about. I feel like this was a very good episode for Rosie. Rosie and Mia were the 2 players that stood out to me a lot this episode. We got to see them do a lot of work. We really got to see Rosie's social game in action like we haven't seen it before.
I think I mentioned this last time I was on, but Rosie is somebody who you would never expect to play such an aggressive social game. I was talking with Casey about this a little while ago, and he said something that rang true to me is that like Rosie and Megan or Sparky play very similar games, but based on this challenge, which why can't I remember what it's called? Touchy subjects. Thank you. People see Megan playing it and don't see Rosie playing it, and I don't know. I'm very impressed by his game. But I think you said you were impressed by Mia and Rosie this go around. I would also throw Jordan in the ring too, because there were several scenes where she was talking with Rosie and Adam and wanting to corral that into maybe a voting block. But she's also tight with Hannah. She's tight with Mia, she's tight with Megan, and she is tight with Dallas. So she's got all of these people kind of in her orbit, which that was season 4 in a nutshell, is what's Jordan doing and how do I fit into Jordan's plans. So to see this kind of go down in a similar way, props to her. I feel like she's only elevated her gameplay from season 4, and to have that in an all-stars cast and still shine out, for me at least, is like really, really impressive stuff.
Yeah. And it was fun this episode seeing Mia in this middle swing position and, you know, kind of and seeing these relationships, because I felt like Mia has been on the edge of a lot for a lot of these episodes where she's not part of this Red Braun alliance, and so she's continuing this target, and so it was interesting kind of watching her kind of see more center and people kind of throwing her name out. It's like, yeah, we're really worried about Mia, and a lot of times I'm like, man, why are we worried about Mia? But now I'm kind of seeing a little bit of it.
Mia brings so much joy to my heart. She's such a treat to watch. I think it's time. Why are we waiting? I want to.
Okay, so we have an illustration to bring up.
Yeah, I made this morning when I rewatched episode 10. Oh my gosh, there's so many amazing just like freeze frames of Mia this episode. Like anytime she's on screen, I'm laughing, and that's what you want in a Survivor player. At least I do. Her whole time when she was at the voting confessional knocked me out. I think I can't look at these without giggling. Like, they're so good. And she's playing a great game alongside her silly antics, which is like the best part. She's not just there to be funny. She's clearly in it to win it.
I mean, so I love these poses with Mia going like this, Mia going like this, and Mia finding the bullet, Mia like giving a thank you to KC as she walks off. This is a great compilation. Mia has brought a lot of fun and energy to the game, and a little chaotic. I mean, it's interesting, like when Mia kind of just says like nope, like she kind of like interesting watching her kind of brush out the strategy, saying that's not for me, but you still see her strategy being done, and it has this nice facade masking it.
Yeah, Mia. From what I remember, I didn't work with her much. We were not often on the same tribe. And once we were at Merge, it was so chaotic that she and I never really overlapped much. We did merge together to vote out Jordan, however, and Rosie. But after that, it was just like me and I, our paths did not cross. But
we actually have a comment from Mia herself saying, "This is my authentic self, poses and all."
Yeah, it's wonderful. And it's just such amazing storytelling. Like, I think this is why I have so much fun with you as a player, Mia. Even when we weren't working together, it was like every conversation I had, there was like this thread of, it felt so genuine. And I think that comes across in this season too, where she's able to extract information from people like Rosie, who really have no business telling her that Adam has an idol. Like, she was able to get that out of him because she I don't know, she's just magical.
So I'm gonna bring us back here a bit. Yeah. So I think with that, let's start rolling through the episode. And so the episode is so one of the things that's hard when you watch these games is having a sense of time, right? Because like, you know, in CBS Survivor, you know that an episode is 2 to 3 days generally, right? Of time. Sometimes it's 1 if it's in the merge. But at least you have lacrosse. But like in these games, you're just like, man, what day is it? What time is it? You just have no idea. And so we see this like lethargy just kind of descend on the tribe. Everyone's just like, we're tired, we're exhausted. We just survived this crazy double vote where I believe, I'm trying to check where both Megan Wolf and Stacy went home, and everyone's just kind of over it. So we're just like exhausted at this point.
Yeah. We had a double in season 4, and it was sort of a similar thing where there's so much that happens when just one person is voted off, and you come back and you have to reassess everything. You're trying to understand the dynamics of the people that remain and what your path through the next vote and to the end will look like. And that the effect of 2 people leaving back to back is exponential. It's not linear. Like, you get back, and that is what, like, at this point, that's 9 out of 11. So like, it's like a substantial percentage of people gone. You have to reevaluate everything, especially after a vote where idols or advantages were played and votes were negated. It's like, this is a really tricky social dynamic. So I'm confident all of their minds are worrying with like, how do I move forward? But it's also that time of the game where you're hungry, you're starting to slow down, it's getting a little bit difficult to focus. At least that's what I experienced. It's hard to keep your energy at a peak all the time.
So did you have anything you would do to try to combat the exhaustion while playing?
No, I managed that really poorly. I was just I didn't, and that was bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think my body has produced as much adrenaline ever as it did in that time. I was just like, I couldn't even fall asleep. I would be in my sleeping bag trying to rest and my mind wouldn't shut down. It's probably not great. But what can you do? You can sleep. And a lot of times what would happen is there'd be a group where everybody would just like have like an unspoken truce where y'all just sat around the camp, didn't talk, and just like de-stressed. And that was sort of, I don't know if that's happening on All Stars, but that was an unspoken thing that happened where it's just like no one can talk or do anything because it's just too much.
I've always read or heard like, good Survivor players will every night walk through their list of names, who's allying with who, what do you need to do with your checklist. And I've always been so dead, I'm just like, nope, knocked out of sleep immediately.
Also, things look a lot grimmer at the end of the day than they do at the beginning. At least for me, I'm like, everything is so hard. I don't know why I'm here. What did I get myself into? And I wake up the next morning, I'm like, that was so silly of me. Of course, I'm happy to be here. And sometimes you just need your mind to take a break. So sleep is what you can do.
So we mentioned this earlier, but and I think I struggle to kind of get it from the episode, but like, it seems knowledge that Adam may have an idol is percolating around camp. And it seems that Rosie sort of leaked it, or people are like, it's very confusing how exactly this comes out that Adam may have an idol.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, Mia was kind of grilling Rosie and was saying like, if anybody knows that Adam has an idol, it would be you. And at first, Rosie was like, he hasn't told me anything. That's why I'm here. I'm trying to understand what he's up to. And she continues to be like, you're messing with me. You're not telling me the truth. And at the very end of that conversation, he folds his hand and he's like, yeah, he does have something. I don't think he said it was an idol, but I think he alluded to that.
And this kicks off a lot of the defining the episode where the majority alliance, what will be the majority alliance, is very unwilling to put all their eggs in one basket because of who knows what can be played.
Of course, yes, naturally.
I don't think there is much else in the opening scene before we get the immunity challenge. Anything else you want to bring up?
Griffin's very first confessional, I thought was revealing in that he said that he and Hannah were behind switching the double tribal vote from Mia, Stacey to Megan and Adam, which was 50% successful. I think I've just kept that in the back of my pocket. And also I thought it was good that Jordan brought up, she said that a lot of people aren't talking about final threes or final fours yet because people are so tired. And that was around the time where Rosie and Adam were all talking. And that was the other part of the intro stuff that I was impressed by, because I feel like she easily could have just stuck with Megan, Mia, Dallas, and not really talked to them. But if she's acting as the bridge, that probably ensures she's less likely to go home.
I think she's done a great job really using that swap tribe to build those alliances. Even though those aren't her core alliance, they're still valuable to her, and she's fighting for them.
Yeah, and that's not what she did the last time she played. She stuck with her core people that she moved with from pre-merge. And I think it's because she's elevated her social game that she has remained more or less untargeted.
Yeah, I think the other thing that struck me about Griffin's confessional, kind of recapping the previous episode, was that he's like, it was chaos for 2 hours, and last minute the plan came together.
Yeah.
Jordan would like to note that. Did you just compliment Jordan?
I did. Jordan, I'm so impressed by your game, and I'm sorry I voted you out. I'm not, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry in hindsight. I don't know.
So from here we move to touchy subjects as a mini challenge. Have you had a chance to play this challenge before?
No, but I played along. So I like put my answers in as Casey was asking the questions. I got them all right. So I'm very, very happy about that. And the slashing tires one was the easiest for me.
I feel it's the side of Jordan that we maybe haven't seen in the edited episodes.
Jordan just gets, she does what she needs to do. And if she needs to slash somebody's tires, it's going to happen. There's no stopping her. So I don't worry.
So one thing that struck me with this touchy subjects challenge, I guess two things. One, I feel like Casey really wished she had whiteboards for the players. Second, the scores were really high.
Yeah.
I was impressed with how well everyone was answering the questions. Far better than I have ever done in touchy subjects. So clearly, all stars, like you said, there are these connections. Some of just walking through a couple of answers, like Boogie was class clown, Adam was most likely to survive a zombie apocalypse, Jordan would slash someone tires, Megan would take a bullet for someone, Dal's the most charming, and would go viral on TikTok. And I think the most important game-related question was learning that Megan was playing the best game.
Shocked that people were onto her. I thought it was going to be Jordan or Mia who got that. I've said Megan because I played with her, so I know, but I fear for Megan. I fear for Megan because if people can see it, people in season 4 didn't see it, me included. For a good chunk of season 4, I was like, what is she doing? If people can see it now, she may have a rough, rocky road to get to the end. I don't think people want her there.
So is it the kiss of death?
Yeah. If Megan will need to go on an immunity or advantage, she'll need to be protected at just about every stage forward to get to the end, because she's up there in target threat level.
Casey apparently did rob us of the most important question of most likely eat an entire pizza, and that was tied between Adam and Dallas. So clearly the edit is not giving us what the people want.
That was an oversight on Casey's part, because that is clearly a critical question.
Because there was pizza at the merge the night before, the previous night, and so clearly someone ate the whole pizza, but we'll never know. So, what were some questions that would have been fun that you would like to have seen asked?
I wanted shady questions. I was very upset that all of these la-di-da, let's have fun, who's going to go viral on TikTok. I was like, I want Casey to ask them who's playing the worst game. I want to see Casey ask them who does not deserve to get to Final Tribal Council. I was ready for drama, and I was ready for people to have to make some really tough calls, because I think it would have been really interesting to see how people navigated things that usually just go unspoken in the game. And that's why I enjoyed the Megan question about who's playing the best, because it reveals a lot about the group consensus, and that I feel like that's what touchy subjects could do from a strategic standpoint.
From my experience in touchy subjects, I think the two most insightful questions for me as a player have always been, who do you think is going home next? And then, who thinks they're running the game but isn't?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because when I played Surviving Reelfoot, there's a guy on the tribe named Trevor who won that thinks he's running the game but isn't. At the time, I was like, really? Trevor? I was just like, man, I don't see any of this. Then I get voted out, I'm on the jury, and I'm seeing things go. I'm like, okay, yeah, he was running the game, and I think he actually is running the game. It's one of those things I didn't realize until later. I'm like, yeah, he was doing a lot more, and it wasn't with me, but there's a lot more going with the other players and so those are the two questions that send alarm bells. Is it someone I'm not expecting getting listed as next boot, and is someone getting put out for is running the tribe that I'm not aware of? And that's those are two things. Oh no, I'm missing something, and this needs to be corrected ASAP.
Yeah, touchy subjects would be an awesome challenge, because it kind of gives you a litmus test to understand what your position is to the tribe and how that compares with what you believe your position to be. Because no matter what, no matter how good of a player you are, you will know a minority of the information that's happening around all of camp. You can only know so much. So calibrating how important the knowledge you have in your back pocket would be crucial and really helpful. I never got to play a touchy subjects challenge. That's okay.
So the more important question is this a challenge you want to win?
No. It's really, really hard. I won the first two individual immunities. And I think in part that was a misstep for me because it set this idea in people's mind that Mitch is good at endurance challenges and memory challenges. I would much rather be known for being good at either of those two things than having a really good social read on people. I would probably throw some questions. This is not, unless I felt like I was going home next, I would avoid winning this one. And I think especially, I'm really interested to see how Hannah navigates this because for me, if I was a returning player, and Hannah was a newbie, and Hannah won touchy subjects, every alarm bell would ring because, as she said in one of her confessionals, she just won touchy subjects in a group that already knows each other, and she's an outsider. So she's got crazy good reads on people, or other people are throwing the challenge, which is also a possibility. That I would, if I was in the game, I'd probably try and not have her in the final tribal. But
yeah, it's interesting because we never heard any confessions of people kind of saying, "Wow, I'm surprised Hannah won this. Like that's out of the blue. I wonder if this means there's more going on than maybe we're saying." We didn't hear any of that, which, as a Hannah stan, is good to hear.
Yeah.
But this is a challenge. I like. Generally, I don't want to win immunity challenges unless like I really need to. Like I'd rather pull a surprise win versus win from earlier than have kind of that looming challenge threat target on my back I have to deal with. And this challenge especially, and like what was nice about this challenge is like because the questions weren't as pointed. By the way, Casey says like we can thank Devontae, Megan Wolf, and friends for coming up with the questions. So they they don't have a mean bone in their body. That's what it means.
Oh wow. They should have. You guys they could have been so mean. Oh. No, that's nice.
Clearly, the question is who's the best Megan? That would have been a tough question, but
that would have been a tough question.
But so I don't really want to win challenges, and this challenge especially because a lot of times you're giving answers that might have ramifications, but people might be hurt by them. And then like it is just such a social challenge that it's kind of like when you look who wins, it's like
Yeah, definitely it's an eye opener. I would avoid winning. I would probably also try to avoid being dead last because I don't also want to have the reputation or the idea of like Mitch doesn't know what's going on because I think that could be equally as detrimental given the right circumstance. So I want to be dead in the middle.
Now, final question to you: do you fill out that survey truthfully, or do you put nonsense in? Scramble the results.
I would probably answer truthfully. I don't know. I've actually never considered that strategy. I probably would answer truthfully because it's more likely that my answering truthfully impacts something than if I'm trying to like just throw random names out. It may be a case where, let's say there are 7 people playing touchy subjects and there's a 3-3 split. My choice, if it's a truthful one, may help me get more points if I'm trying to win. So I don't know. I'd probably be truthful, but I should think about that more. Would you throw random stuff in?
I went in real foot. I wrote Charity's name for almost everything because I wanted to vote her out next.
Oh, that's a really interesting strategy of just trying to like make somebody appear more threatening than they are.
Yeah, it's like this is no harm to me if Charity's name comes up for anything because I want her out anyways.
I guess my one fear would be at the end of the challenge, somebody like the host is like, surprise twist, you now get to see what everybody wrote for your, like that would be brutal to have that. released. But.
And let's not put that idea on there in the world. Let's like no one needs to think about that kind of twist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Hannah wins immunity. I think it didn't feel like Hannah needed it, but like that's always like kind of a post facto thing. As her name doesn't come up as because she isn't a target. So
right. Yeah, it's hard to know, but I don't think she would have gone, even with like the insane idol shenanigans.
Yeah. So one of the things I've been wondering as we enter the merge, and was when will people flip on the Braun trio of Megan, Will, Rosie, and Adam? Like when was that going to happen? How long will it be allowed to be this propped up figurehead, this majority alliance? Because I felt like Adam was the trophy players are looking to have under their belts. And so when we saw last episode in the double tribal where Megan goes home, Adam is targeted, and Adam needs to play the shots in the dark. It didn't surprise me to see that like the Rosie and Adam were on the bottom as well this episode. What surprised me was seeing Boogie thrown into that too.
Yeah, I think Jordan did a great job of summarizing why Boogie was in that position.
Yeah.
There were 4 other people from season 4 that aren't Boogie who saw him slide through each vote in a very it was uncanny. Every time people would be like, maybe now is the time to get Boogie, and for whatever reason he was able to just dodge it and somebody else would come up and then that person would leave and Boogie would just repeat the cycle in the next vote. And I think because there were so many season 4 people plus Jordan who was like, I already know this has happened and I'm happy to kind of spearhead this Boogie vote. I think that's why he wasn't able to do it again. And he's a winner. So if you can't take out Adam, or if you feel like Adam has an advantage, might as well get rid of the other person who could walk into a final tribal and say, you let me get here, I'm a winner. That's already a poor play on everybody else's behalf. I will say Rosie was never targeted during any of that, which I would have thought for some people, at least it would have been like, well, if Adam might have an idol, Rosie could be the backup. But Rosie dodges this. And I'm not, it's hard for me to tell how much Rosie is on the bottom versus how much Rosie is playing both sides. It's clear that like the Megan, Dallas, Jordan contingency don't exactly trust him, but they seem to trust him enough to not want to get him out. So it's hard for me to gauge exactly where Rosie is on the pecking order, but he's doing enough to not have his name thrown out. So props to him.
Yeah, and so it was interesting this episode. We kind of saw 2 factions in a sense, right? We saw a lot of Boogie, Adam, Rosie, and Griffin sitting together and talking together and strategizing together. And then we saw a lot of Jordan, Megan, Dallas, Hannah, and Mia together. And of those 2 groups, it felt like it was Griffin and it was Mia who had kind of the most agency to go between lines. We saw a lot from Rosie as well, but there's a lot of like, do we really trust Rosie with the plan? We saw a lot of fake plans being given to Rosie to throw him off the set.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts of the episode was when Griffin, Dallas, Megan, and Jordan were standing together, and Griffin somewhat loudly says, we have to make Rosie still think it's Megan. And then as he's saying that, Rosie walks up and is like, it's still Megan, right? And if you watch Griffin's face, he looks like he's about to pee his pants the entire time because he very clearly didn't know whether or not oh my gosh, Jordy, I don't know why I keep saying that. Why he keeps trying to gauge whether or not Rosie heard him, and the entire exchange was so good. Yeah, Rosie is clearly not trusted fully, but I don't know. He's not getting votes thrown his way. So I guess maybe people are underestimating his game or feel they could beat him. That would be my next guess. Is like we can't beat Boogie at the end, but we might be able to beat Rosie, and so that's.
Gosh, so was it Jordan or Megan that talked? Someone talked about Rosie and said, like, I can't quite tell if what he's doing is strategy or just him being laid back. That was Megan. Okay, I was trying to remember which exactly, but like there was this confusion, like what is like his game versus what's just him, and like this struggle to find like which is which, which is a wonderful place to be.
Yeah, for sure. Especially at this point in the game, I would have expected to have a decent understanding of what's game and what isn't within people. And if you
Mhm.
can't get that read on Rosie, that's probably good for him.
Mhm. So I figured it might be easier just to kind of walk through player by player and talk about what their plans are and what they're doing. Because
Yeah.
the scramble bounces forth a lot. So I figured let's start with Jordan. We see her really doing two things: pushing for Boogie and protecting Adam, right? And we see her having these kind of small secret sidebar conversations with Rosie and Adam, giving reassurances like, "Hey, I'm on your side."
Yeah. Yeah. Which is an amazing position to be in, and an important one too, because I think what she's doing is she knows at some point that big group that's looking to target Boogie or Adam it's going to fall apart at some point. There are too many cooks in that kitchen, and the numbers are dwindling. There may come a time when Jordan will need to swing elsewhere, and I think what she's trying to do is set up that landing pad and like the Adam Rosie duo as somewhere she could swing to and hopefully protect her game. So I think it makes a lot of sense that she's getting rid of Boogie for her game, that she's getting rid of Boogie at this point. And she was successful in doing so, which was pretty impressive.
So if she's preserving those two as a swing, what should her next vote be?
Gosh, I need to look at who's left. I would say if I was Jordan and I'm trying to, and also Adam's a huge shield. I think that goes without saying. And I think actually now, one of my complaints the last time I was on was Megan and Jordan had a very clear shot at Adam and they took out Meredith. And at the time I was like, why didn't they do this? And I think this section of Jordan's strategy now answers that previous question. She very intentionally is keeping him around as a shield. So Boogie is gone. There's 8 people left. I would say I'd probably start aiming to get rid of Dallas if I were Jordan, because he's tight with Megan. So that could be a sway away from Jordan if Megan feels she can't beat Jordan at the end. And I don't think Dallas has any qualms about getting rid of Jordan if it furthers himself in the game. So that would be my gut check.
Yeah, I think if you are Jordan, like we talked about, she's remarkably insulated with Megan, Hannah, I think Mia, Rosie, and Adam all feeling very connected and very dependent on her, right? And I think Dallas is one of the people that Dallas and Griffin, I think, are the two people that are less likely to be that way. And honestly, I think that taking them out, removing other former Brains Tribe members, kind of forces Megan to be more reliant on her and removes Megan's options.
Yeah, I would say the same. I think between Dallas and Griffin, Dallas has played a better game, and that's where I would go Dallas over Griffin. Let me ask you this question now, because I've been thinking about it. Would you ever vote for somebody who got back from Redemption Island at the end?
Yes.
Yes. In what circumstance would you do so?
So we're assuming like we're talking about just redemption at merge, not Chris Underwood final.
Yeah.
I think at like seeing a player come back at merge, and really I feel like merge is really the test of a player's mettle in a sense. It can be really impressive. Like I wouldn't preclude voting for someone who came back in the game as a result.
Okay, that's fair. I would say for me, I'm more likely to do it if it was a returner season rather than a newbie season, because there's already set alliances and perhaps feuds that exist that you might not be able to control as a returning player.
Yeah.
However, in a newbie cast, I have a really hard time. Even if it's somebody who was idled out or was voted out in an unusual circumstance, it's hard for me to justify voting for somebody who returned into the game. And I think if I was in the All-Stars cast, I would not vote for Griffin unless his post-merge game was flawless. If it was so good that he can defend why he was the weak link and got voted out, earlier, then I would consider it. But
yeah, and I don't, and like maybe I should restate, like I wouldn't, I would I would be open to voting for them, and maybe there is a higher threshold I would need to be passed, like the persuade me, given that you have like this person you're two people are sitting next to have never been voted out. You've been voted out, right? Like yes, you have a second chance, but why should that earn my vote right now? I don't know.
Okay, cool. I was just wondering.
Yeah, I think, and I, as much as like Redemption is much more contentious in the TV, as Casey puts it, CBS Survivor versus real Survivor. I like Redemption more in fan games because it's low likelihood any of us will ever compete in the real show, and we've all kind of gone out of our way to be here to do this adventure, and it sucks when your adventure gets cut short. And so I like the fact that you let the adventure continue and still have second chances to be more involved with players. I think from just a fun game weekend perspective, I like that.
Yeah, I can agree with you there. I think it makes more sense in that format than it does the like 39 or 26 day show. And it's also like a community building thing as well. Like you commiserate if you're out pre-merge with the other. That's a huge part of this like series of communities is you want to maintain that connection. So
I when I've been out pre-merge, being able to hang out with other pre-merge players and really just get to know them as people has honestly been one of the highlights.
And we even see this happening from the CBS version of the show. I'm not very active on any social media, but every once in a while I'll pop on and I'll see like some of the pre-mergers from recent seasons have this big connection, because I imagine that's a really rough position to be in. Like you're on national TV, you had this big dream, and then you lost it all, maybe prematurely. Of course, you're going to want support from that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And if Redemption is what keeps you around, camping for another day, having time to process those emotions, it may be a healthier thing than just cutting you loose.
So moving on, the next poster I want to talk about is Megan from the original Brains Tribe, also known as Sparky. What did you think of what was going on with her this episode?
I think Megan played her position well, given that she was voted as the most threatening or best game played. I feel there was a similar, she kind of Erica-ed her way through this vote. I don't know if you remember season 41, Erica, she like, during the Shan boot, there was a thought that it would be like only on Shan, and then she was the one that was like, I need it to be split because I'm the other option on the table should things go south. That ended up not being what was happening. Boogie was in the mix too, but I think her thought process made a lot of sense given the information she knew about people see me as a threat, and I need to have a contingency plan should an advantage or an idol be played. I don't want to be played. So I think she played well.
Yeah, I think she played, given that I think she's the leader of she's now in the top of the totem pole of her alliance.
Yeah.
Right? Which is a great but scary place to be. And I think she played it well. I think Boogie was a good person to take out. We've talked already before how she kind of the kiss of death by people are seeing and noticing your game, which is flattering, which is nice. It's great to know that people are seeing your game, so it makes your life easier when you get to the final tribal council, just not easier getting the final tribal council. So it makes me wonder like where she should be going from here. We know she's relying on Jordan and Dallas a lot. They're kind of her right-hand people. And so I'm wondering, like, should she be, is taking Adam Rosie her next best call, or should she be looking more internally, like who might be headhunting for me? And the answer might be like Hannah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think she's making it to the end of this game, because I think the caliber of gameplay is such to where it doesn't matter unless she goes on an immunity run or has protection at every vote. Somebody is going to be looking at her. Because she's also one of those people where, like, we saw Hannah's name get thrown out a lot at the beginning of the game, and then she was sort of able to dampen that fire of people wanting to get her out. And I only think the target will grow on Megan, because no one will forget that Megan is playing a good game, especially after touchy subjects, and she will continue to prove that she's playing a good game every vote she survives. So I think, yeah, she'd have to get pretty lucky with immunities to get to the end, because at some point there's not going to be anybody else to really go after. At some point, people are going to say she has to go, and it may be next vote may very well shift from like feeling like Adam is the person that needs to go to Megan. We'll see.
I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll talk about it later. But I do think Adam's the target final 8. I think Megan gets blindsided final 7.
You think final 7 for Megan?
Yeah.
Megan has some good immunity. She's good at puzzles. She can compete. So I honestly think it's like the next time she is vulnerable, people are going to knock her out.
I think like final 7, I see you get alliance of Mia, Hannah, Griffin, and Rosie come together, and they blindside Jordan, Dallas, and Megan and take out Megan.
That trio, yeah, that's very, very plausible.
And so I think if you're Megan, you need Rosie to go next. I don't think you want Adam out of the game. You want people to keep being worried about Adam. So I think you take out Rosie because he's a fluid player that people are looking to scoop up and work with. So I'd say you take out Rosie, then you try and knock out Hannah.
Yeah, it's sort of the addition by subtraction strategy where it's like you want every target available possible, because if not, it's going to be you. That was one of the biggest themes of season 4 that I failed to recognize. Every single person was getting voted out because they would raise their head out of their little trench to like look around and see who they could vote out, and they would maybe be successful, and then the next time their head would get lopped off by the next person, and then their head, and it just kept going. That is not happening this season. I think people are going to look for the Rosies and the Hannahs of the world at some point and try and get them out. But I don't think the majority of people will prioritize. That's great for Megan personally. Like she can target them all she wants. But at the end of the day, I don't think the majority is ever going to say, yeah, we'll get rid of Rosie or Hannah before we get rid of you. Yeah. I don't know. I just don't think it's... If she makes it to the end, wow, she should win if she makes it to the end.
I feel like we said about a lot of players. If they make it then, my gosh, they have our vote.
That's the best thing about this season, is that even now, every single person has a story that they could leverage at the end. There's no one person who I can write off. Even the people that I know I wouldn't vote for, they still have so much fight in them. So it's like the level of gameplay is really high, and it's a treat to watch.
We don't hear a lot from Dallas this episode.
No,
it's a quiet episode for him. We do see him a lot in his alliance, but we don't see him really going across the street to talk to the other alliance.
Yeah, Dallas seems like a very steadfast strategist. We see him and Megan going over the vote yet another time when Jordan and Griffin are like, nah, I can't do this anymore. I got to tap out. My brain's fried. He's thinking. The little moments we have of him are like, he's thinking about, well, if this person has an idol, then how is this going to impact our vote? And I think he's locked in right now into his position, because who voted for him? It was Adam, Rosie, and Megan Wolf who voted for him pre-merge. So he's already working with people who he knows would prioritize his safety over the other group, which is probably why he's so locked in at this moment.
One of the things we talked about is we don't really get a sense. I think the only final 3 we actually hear about is Boogie's final 3 and his parting words. And I wonder who Dallas would like to sit next to at the end. I imagine it does not rhyme with Megan. I imagine Megan is his perfect final 4 boot. They get to that lets him sit at final 3 with, I don't know, Griffin maybe. Maybe it's him, Griffin. Does he want Jordan? Does he want Hannah? Does he like Rosie? I don't know. I
think for Dallas, if I was Dallas, I would not want to sit with Jordan or Megan at the end, because my game has been so attached to theirs, to where if 2 of us or 3 of us were sitting at the end, it's a lot of the same talking points that they may be able to talk up better than me, because he was vulnerable at one point and they were the ones that saved him. I think he'll want to have a unique story when he's up at the final 3. And at least if I was in his position, no Megan for sure, but also no Jordan.
And so maybe the answer is like, he wants to solidify a strong five. And I don't know, but and like my question is like between outside Meg and Jordan, is it also me and Hannah, me and Rosie? Like which of these other two does he want? And then he wants to get to the five, and then take out Megan and Jordan back to back.
Yeah, we haven't heard from him, so we can't know. If I were him, I would probably look at Griffin and Hannah or Rosie, given the way that they're playing right
now. Now we get one good confessional from Hannah, right? So it was weird. I don't feel like I saw Hannah a lot this episode. Did you feel that way?
I did. I feel what we got a confessional about her immunity win, right? That was the big confessional. Yeah, she was kind of silent for a lot of this.
Yeah, and so like I like her confessional because she's like ecstatic. She won despite being the only stranger in the midst of all these friends. She desperately wants Adam out. Like Adam is like what she wants, but she's gonna act.
Where is this coming?
Well, okay, it's because we had this voted confessional last episode, where she kind of said something like, like I can read through your lies, Adam. And so clearly, like she feels like Adam has just been lying to her and kind of like,
yeah.
And so she's coming for him now because like, hey, you're my target. But like, didn't you see like even the end of the episode, like Adam and Hannah are sitting next to each other. All right. Silent except for saying mean stuff to me. Yeah. I mean, so Adam and Hannah are sitting next to each other, right? Yeah. And you see them talking with each other. And I'm just like, I wonder what they're talking about at this point, because we see their games going in very different directions. That Adam is this perennial target. Hannah's written his name down twice and twice in a row.
I imagine it was probably like they both had their guns or their knives behind their backs and they're just like sweet talking each other.
I would never vote for you. It was clearly Mia and someone else.
Yeah, if you go tonight, just know it wasn't me, like they're probably, I mean, Hannah, I don't know if Hannah knew Boogie was going. That's another thing, is like it wasn't clear whether or not.
I think she did. It sounds like, because we heard rumblings about, we want their split vote. We're worried about advantages. Yeah. Who knows what Adam can play? I think the goal was to spook Adam and take out Boogie.
Which goal achieved. But
yeah.
I wonder if she's just trying to smooth things over as much as she can. It's hard to know, but I would think she's probably doing whatever she can to try and get as close to a jury vote from Adam as possible. That's what I would be doing in that situation. But who knows?
And so, yeah, I think in Hannah's perfect world, again, maybe it's knock out Adam at final 8, flip on Megan at final 7, and then kind of hopefully ride it out to the end. Maybe that's what she's thinking at this point. I mean, it would be fascinating if she like somehow kept Adam, you kept him as a shield and still put the Megan. I don't know. I'm curious because we know final 7 is Hannah's deadline to do something big, and we're approaching said deadline, even though she's just like maybe final 9 and doing something big now, but I don't think it was quite what she wanted.
Definitely not what she wanted, because Adam is still in the game. I am so thrilled. I cannot wait. I want one of the jury questions, if Hannah's at the end, is to be like, give Adam a compliment, because I'm not sure. I think it's been purely negative coverage from Hannah to Adam from the moment she talked with him. I don't know what Hannah's ideal final 3 is. Every episode I feel like she says Jordan's my girl. So I know she's locked in with Jordan as an ally now. I would not want to go up against Jordan in a final tribal. To me, Megan and Jordan are the 2 scariest people on the board right now. Adam is 3rd because of his winner status. So I would probably rule out any of those people to go to the end with. That leaves few people. Mia, I don't know. Who wants to take Mia to the end? Because it seems like Mia's in good with people. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. So it'll be interesting to see when we hear more from her, like what I think what's going to happen is it's end of day 3. People are going to recuperate, strategize, and we're going to have a lot of people kind of look at the final 8 and say, what is my end game with this group?
And I think that's exactly what Jordan said in one of her confessionals. We are like getting through this vote, we're exhausted, and then tomorrow is when the end game strategy begins. Yeah. I
don't know how much more we can add to what we talked about Boogie with him being kind of targeted as this former winner, where people have seen his play style being able to like stay under the radar, slip through the cracks, and appear at the end. And that's why like Jordan is really saying no, he needs to go now, despite Boogie being like a member of her original tribe. We see Boogie like he's trying to like get people to target Megan. He like we've heard him talk a lot like, you know, Megan is a problem, Megan's an issue. Don't you see the game she's playing? I'm seeing the game she's playing, and we know people are starting to wise up to that. But I think people are unwilling to take that shot now, which is hurting him.
Yeah, it makes sense. Timing is everything, and if it makes sense that was his position for me. Given the mix of people left, Boogie would have a tough time getting to the end.
And I did, that thing was interesting. His final three was him, Adam, and Griffin.
Not the final three I would have chosen, because I'm not sure Adam. I wouldn't want to go up against Adam. Griffin makes sense. I feel like Griffin is probably in just about everybody's final three because he came back from redemption. As sad as that is, I don't think he's to this point he's not done enough for me personally to think people are going to really want to vote him at the end. Who does he have on the jury? Stacey might vote for him out of like camaraderie, but aside from that, I think, yeah, Griffin. That didn't surprise me, but
you know, Boogie would vote for him too now.
Yeah, true. He wants Griffin, and I don't know if Griffin makes it to the end. I'd be interested to see if Boogie actually would do that, because I don't know. I'm not trying to be mean to Griffin. Also, like I think.
Oh no. It's just me now. Hopefully, Mitch returns to us soon. Else, you can let me send him a message. Hey, you dropped out. Oh, he's back in.
Gosh,
all right.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what just happened. Griffin literally cursed me. I don't know if you heard what I was not mean to Griffin, and then my entire internet just disengages.
You have been warned. This is a no bad talking Griffin podcast. Only great things said aloud about him.
Have mercy. I think Griffin's playing a really good game, and like this episode, you can see him like fleshing out his options with Mia as the swing votes. But I might just be biased, but I just don't think. I think if we're splitting hairs, Griffin is maybe on the weaker end of the gameplay right now. So yeah,
well, I think there's plenty of merge left, and I think we're going to see players race to kind of define the end game in their image, and that's going to be very important to see who gets to that first. And that's why, like, I think if Hannah can pull off her final 7, I think that's about the time you want to do it. I think any later, it's like, yeah, your big move at final 5 was inevitable, right? You don't want people to kind of have that feeling versus like final 7. Yes, we did rewrite the game.
Do you feel like making a big move or having a move that you can claim as yours is integral to winning the game?
No, I don't think it's integral. I think at the end of the game, you want a story and you want a coherent story. Now, I think some people may demand you to have more agency in the story than others. Right? I think people always want to look at the end game and say, you know, like, how did you shape this end game?
Yeah.
But I think the first thing you want is a story, and sometimes your story does demand that you have taken more action. Right? Yeah. And I think Hannah's story that she can sell, I don't know if it necessitates it, but knowing Hannah, that's not going to stop her. But Griffin's story might require something more like, hey, you know, I came back in, I took swings, I made waves, and I got here. So yes, even though I did get voted out, look what I've accomplished, right?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I feel like for Hannah, you're right. I don't think Hannah necessarily needs to make this big move that is Hannah's, because I think her game is so strong, just being like, I came in here not knowing any of you. I've done X, Y, and Z. I avoided getting voted this time. I won this many immunity challenges, including touchy subjects. And I was a part of every single vote down the line. Like every single plan, I knew it was going to happen, which I think is true at this point.
I think in Hannah's perfect world, she helps orchestrate the plan with a Griffin, let's say she orchestrates with a Griffin or somebody else, pins the blame on them, was able to flip on them, and also take out Jordan in the process between 6 and 5, 6, 5, 4.
Yeah.
Right. So like I think her best world is she does this flip, brings back Jordan, kind of like is able to throw someone under the bus as the person who is orchestrating this. So she still gets credit, but like this other person is more threatening for having done it. I don't know.
Something like that. I think Hannah, Griffin, and Rosie are sitting pretty for a while because everybody wants to pare down these big threats.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those three are, from a viewer's perspective, from what we've been shown of people's thought processes, those are the three that may feel the least threatening.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great position to be in as long as you can defend your case at the end.
I guess the last question from Boogie, is there anything he could have done this episode?
He could have found that third bullet. That's the one thing. Fair. That's it. I think his like it was going to happen at some point. It's something very similar to what happened this episode was going to happen, especially with Devontae out.
I guess I think the solution would have been he needed to write down Adam's name and try to persuade one person to flip on Adam. I don't know. Try to change it from a 4-2 to a 4-3 in his favor.
I guess the only other thing he could have tried to do,
and then get Adam not to play idol.
Yeah, I would say the one thing he could have tried to do potentially, he'd have to go to Adam and be like, "They're coming for me. If you need to play your idol for me." And we know Adam was just discussing that with Rosie as a potential. I don't know if there was any validity to that thought, or if he was just saying it to say it. But if Boogie could have gotten Adam to play his idol this round, Adam
then you have the issue where Adam successfully shields Boogie, Megan plays her idol, Mia plays her idol, the votes on Mia are negated, or Megan are negated, and as a result, Adam goes home after playing his idol for someone else. I mean, yeah,
it's an amazing move, but then Boogie would have gone right after him because no one would have wanted to have that in the final tribal council. It's so interesting. This is my favorite time in the game is final 9 to final 6, because it's like the juiciest, most difficult section of the game, in my opinion. I think that's the hardest part, is understanding where you stand and how to move further into the game in a way that sets up that final tribal council to your best benefit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. After that, it gets I think a little easier, with like things are determined by immunity wins more so than like options. Maybe I'm totally off. I've actually never been to that stage of the game, so I guess I can't actually say that, but yeah, that would be my gut feeling.
So we've talked around Adam a lot. He's gone from kind of the top of the world to like bottom of the world, right? With everyone kind of looking and gunning for him in some capacity, having survived being voted out the prior round. He wants Megan or Mia, but which was interesting. He put both of them together, not Jordan Megan, because Jordan is the secret ally that's working with him, but he wants Megan or Mia because he thinks they're running the show, but he can't get traction for that.
Is Mia running the show?
That's what surprised me. Was like, man, I would think he would have been like putting Dallas and Megan higher on the list than Mia and Megan, but I think there's just this bit of a bad blood between him and Mia over the course of the season it's only going to end when one goes home.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with his statement that Megan is running the show.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mia is not running the show. I think she has the potential to in the future, but I don't think she's running the show right now. I think Adam is really similar to Megan in that he need to have a pretty strong immunity run to get to the end of this game. And I think I'm wondering, I think his win equity is decreasing every round he continues in the game, because at least for me personally, I don't find the story of I beat the odds over and over using advantages that compelling as like a win scenario. Like he's kind of been from season 35 at this moment, and he's like, oh, another one, what you gonna do? Like that can only go on for so long, and once that fails, there may be this. I wonder if there will be an inversion point where people begin to not take his game seriously, and he's used as this like number/shield further into the game. I don't know. I'm losing faith in Adam's ability to win, even if he were to get to the end.
I think the final eight's can really matter for what happens to him.
I agree.
I mean,
there's a good chance he goes home.
I think there's a good chance he goes home. If he doesn't, that'll be interesting because either Rosie's gone out, now he's a valuable piece for players to flip, or because the flip happened earlier and now he has more maneuverability and can forge new alliances.
Yeah, there was some foreshadowing in this episode about the next challenge and how Adam thought he could win it. So we may very well see an Adam immunity win, in which case you think Rosie goes if Adam's safe.
I think there's a high likelihood.
Yeah. I think Rosie or Megan.
It'd be interesting if Megan goes home at 8. I think I think 7's a great time to target her.
Yeah, if Megan goes home at 8, that would be bonkers. The rest of the game would be a lot.
The game would be open.
Yeah. Cool. That's all I have to say about Adam is that, but like I'm not sure exactly what he could do, because I can't tell if his previous win is what's holding him back from playing a stronger social game, or if he's just not playing that strong of a social game this round. And I just don't know how much of the responsibility he can take for people's perception of him.
His game just might be in Jordan's hands.
Really might be. And I fear for him, Jordan, because Jordan would slash his tires. He would.
Adam, check your car.
Yes.
We've talked about Rosie. Like I said, I think we were really high on seeing him in action this episode. I think Rosie's taking a very he's taking a step back, letting Megan Wolf and Adam really kind of be drivers for things. But I think given Adam is very pinned down, it's given Rosie a lot of mobility to kind of go across the aisle, talk with both sides. Now, it seems like people are wary of him. Like, what is he telling them that's true or not with the idols? Like, what's going on? Is he going to vote the way people are thinking he's voting? He's kind of being fed false information. But I think this is a good sign of like things being open in the future.
I agree. I'm not sure whether his association with Adam is going to help him or hurt him, because I think he's pocketed Adam as a number over anybody else. They voted together as well. So it's like, I don't know if that will help him or harm him in the future, because if Adam leaves, I feel like people would still integrate Rosie into their alliances.
Yeah.
And if he leaves, he's probably maybe a jury vote for Rosie. So.
I'm not as concerned over like people being locked in jury votes at this stage of the game. I think there's plenty of things that can change.
Yeah.
One thing we saw was Adam and Rosie talking about how to play the idol, and the question is, should they play the idol chaotically? Now, you've had alliances with the idols. Do you like idols being used with the little chaos to kind of stir things up, or you think like just play it safe when it comes to something like that?
It kind of depends. Everything depends in Survivor. That's always going to be my answer. It depends a lot on your play style without idols. That's my opinion. I don't like idols very much, so I'd much rather play an idol chaotically, and even if I don't really need to, because I'm just uncomfortable. I don't play well with them. That's a fault of my game. I like idols being played chaotically when I have individual immunity. I don't like idols at all. It's really my take. I hate idols because they really stress me out. I would prefer if everybody played very securely with their idols, and they would just do, they play them for themselves when they feel like that would be predictable. But you got to play them chaotically on occasion, or else the pattern that you set will be decoded by the other side, and then it doesn't matter. So somewhere in the middle, it's a balance. We saw a lot of, I would consider the idol plays. Would you consider them chaotic today? On this?
No, I think I would consider them all very defensive.
I agree. And with, I think it's really hard to play aggressively with idols with this high level of gameplay, because it's really hard to gauge what's real and what isn't. So a defensive, something that can augment your defense, seems probably more appealing to the survival instincts than the offensive play. Are there situations where you would play an idol aggressively, or are you a defensive idol player?
I think there's merits of playing idols early in the merge. to help give your alliance an edge, so you have more breathing room to progress to kind of like the final 6 through 8 stage of the game. I think there's merit to using them there versus like holding on to them to like for that stage, so you might not get there otherwise, or like you play it, you go home the next round, like you don't have capital to leverage even after surviving another round.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, 2 players left. This will be easier every episode as more people go home. Griffin, I don't like. It's interesting watching Griffin this episode because he's firmly in this group of 4 with Adam, Rosie, and Boogie, but we see him a lot on the other side talking to his former Brains alliance, and he seems to have a lot of mobility.
Is he firmly in that group of 4?
Well, they need him, so if he wants to be, they'll have him. But I feel like we saw the scene of the 4 of them sitting around in those chairs together a lot to give a sense that if he's in, they need people, and he's welcome.
Yeah. I think that goes for both sides. Both sides are probably like catering Griffin as like, hey, if you want to vote with us, we'd really love that. Because he was talking with the Dallas, Megan, and Jordan trio as well later in the episode. I feel like this is a good episode for him. I think probably my favorite part of the episode was him and Mia talking together, because I feel like those 2 were the deciding factor between which faction wins. And I think he was the one to initiate that conversation with Mia, saying, hey, we're the ones that are in charge really at the end of the day, and tell me what you want to do, because I'm open.
Yeah. And again, I think he's one of the players where I just really want to know where he is going forward, what he wants to do going forward. And we don't really know what that is, right? We heard from Hannah, like her plan is make a big splash at 7, right? But for Griffin, like you said, like maybe he needs to be thinking that to help wash off the redemption from him.
Yeah. And we may see him pop out of the woodwork in future votes. But you're right. I don't feel like I have a good grasp on where he is and what his plans are. But I think he played his position quite well this episode.
Yeah. And finally, the queen herself, Mia. Again, like we spoke a lot at the beginning of the episode. It was really cool seeing Mia's social game in action, seeing her being courted by both sides. I don't love the fact that the Adam and Rosie who really needed her still voted for her. So like clearly that didn't work out.
Yep. I was kind of surprised Mia got votes this round. I would have guessed they would have voted for Megan, because if that would have just further augmented her threat level. Like now she's survived a vote 2 even after being labeled. I think she could totally spin that in a final tribal council situation had she got votes. I don't know. That doesn't bode well for their future alliance. I think she did a really good job this episode. Not only was she able to sort of hardball Rosie into giving her information about Adam potentially having an advantage, she was also the person between Griffin and her that kind of set her foot down and said, I don't really want to do that. I don't really want to go for Megan, just like I don't really want to go for Boogie. And that I feel like between Griffin and her, she was the one that was sort of leading the swing effort. And Griffin was really there to hear her ideas rather than like contribute his own opinion.
And she also calls Adam David again.
Yeah, we need a tally. I wish there was a tally. Like every time she said it, there's a little.
We need that added to the screen by her cryon. So from here, anything else you want to talk about before we jump to the Tribal Council?
I think we're ready to jump to Tribal.
Okay, so this is just a fun thing. Again, we mentioned this before. Casey says like, if this was real Survivor, I mean CBS Survivor. Mitch, what is real Survivor?
I don't know. I think it's all pretty real. I think Survivor CBS is like the original Survivor. It's the most popular Survivor. I don't know if that makes it the most real. I think they're all real in their own way, and but I understand why he said it. It's easy to just say like, oh, that's the real one, and these are like the underground or like the like fan versions. But I don't know. Survivor season 4 for Survivor Bloomington felt very real to me. I was stressing. I did not sleep. I'm sure All Stars feels very real. and the product holds up. Like, this is a really solid season, way better than several seasons of real CBS Survivor. So I don't know by what metric we can evaluate what's real and what isn't. I guess by like caliber of gameplay, caliber of editing, and if we're talking on those levels, then this is very much a real version of Survivor. What about you? What constitutes real Survivor?
I'm gonna go with you as well. I think all these versions are real. I don't think we should call the live reality game survivors not real survivors. I mean, I do agree it's fan survivor. It's a different kind of survivor. But I think it's still as real as it comes. I mean, and then you kind of get to like, is real survivor 39 days or 26 days or 42 days? It's like you start getting the details. Like
for Australian, like
yeah.
I think they're all real, and I think where the community gets maybe a little bit tangled is there are people who have preferences about what the best format is, and it's totally fine, and that's great. But take a peek at Survivor Reddit any time of the day, and there will be at least 2 posts within the first 4 or 5 that are like, I hate the new version of this show. And it's like, just be grateful. I'm just grateful that it's still around, because I feel like it could have easily been taken off air after COVID, after season 39. Like, there were several moments where the fate of Survivor has been shaky. So do I love everything about the 26-day new school Survivor? No, but I'm much happier with it around than I am with no Survivor around. And that's kind of my take. Same with the live reality games.
We have Valencia Burns saying, I'm more into LRG Survivor lately, and we're in the right place because so are we. So the other thing I really want eventually is a tally at how many times people have opened up the little treasure chest in the voting booth. Because we saw, I feel like, I don't know if either people have been talking to each other and say, hey, I found bullets, or there's been things I found in these treasure chests, or maybe it's just like by now everyone's just like, we should check anyways. But I feel like everyone is looking. And as we showed in the picture earlier, point to Mia for finding the hidden bullet taped to the back of the lantern, where I too thought the tape was part of the lantern. And so she's like, I can't take this off, in case she's like, oh no, you can. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, especially because we saw people thoroughly investigate ahead of time. And so that was a big plus moment for me. I was like, I'm impressed. Good for her.
I was also impressed, especially because there's no point in a Survivor game that's more stressful than right before a vote. So you're entering into that voting booth and your heart's racing, you're scared, and to be able to like keep your wits about you and search thoroughly and think a little bit outside of the box is super cool. I think that's awesome, and I hope that everybody continues to look. But there's probably no more advantages in the chest.
And like, do bullets expire final 6?
I don't know.
I should know, and I don't. And I also have not. I track a lot of things on my spreadsheet. I don't track who steals the bullets. So like, I've been doing.
You should. Bullets are important.
I probably should, because I've tracked kind of who's used them and who's given, but I don't have a nice of like who has them left or anything like that. I've just been too lazy to reverse engineer that. So not that many, I imagine. I think Mia has a bullet. Does Rosie still have a bullet?
I think so. I think Rosie has maybe
Megan and Dallas might as well. Jordan has one.
You should keep track of the bullets, and then I don't know where they are. They kind of float everywhere, but I think they are an important part of the game. We've already discussed the influence of shot in the dark, but I mean, 3 bullets is 50% of an idol, potentially. 50% shot at an idol. That's not nothing. I mean, we had like a 50-50 coin on Real Survivor. So,
gosh. So are you listening to Jeff Probst's podcast by any chance?
I saw the artwork on the cover of the podcast, and I immediately said no.
Don't worry, anime Jeff Probst can't hurt you.
Anime Jeff Probst can hurt me. Anime Jeff Probst is really scary. I don't know who in their right mind said that's what we want on the front of that podcast. I think it is one of the ugliest things I've ever seen grace my Spotify. It's horrible.
Well, in episode 2, they talk about idols and advantages. And Jeff Probst notes that when I come up with advantages, I mostly come up like, what do I want to see happen? And I reverse engineer, how can I get this outcome to occur? And for me, that is horrifying. Because it sounds like we want a flashy moment where like someone has to risk something. How can we risk something? What about flipping a coin? Yeah, and we can make it. We can make an idol, but like you flip an idol, it's just kind of like, oh my gosh, like is this really the best you can come up with? And they don't test it either. I'm like, oh my gosh, Jeff, why? No, please stop.
When I think about what makes like the iconic advantage plays of CBS Survivor iconic, is that somebody had something and was able to elevate it using an interesting personal strategy, or they wove some sort of like social aspect. I think immediately of like Parvati's double idol play in Heroes versus Villains, where she was able to deduce from her conversation with Amanda that it's not going to be on Parvati, it's not going to be on her, but it would be on either Sandra or Jerry. And she was able to integrate a very standard idol into an amazing moment. I feel like, at least with the newer seasons, Jeff has been like, we want to just have this amazing moment pre-set up where the players can just grab it and go. Like, what knowledge is power seems to be to me. Like, if it hits, the editors can have a field day with it, but it's almost hollow because it wasn't created by the players, it was created by the producers. I think people can sense that difference. I still think that I liked the amulets from 42, even though they kind of didn't pan out to anything. I thought it was a good idea. Like they're not all bad.
Yeah.
That's a scary mindset, I think, for Jeff to have, of like, oh, I want something crazy to happen, so let's create the hourglass twist or the do or die twist. It's like, damn.
Like, on one hand, it is a TV product, and they want these big, like TV moments, and so I can understand from that perspective. But thank you, KC, for not having that philosophy when approaching your Survivor game.
They also have 26 or 40 or 39 days. That's a lot of footage, and either way, so you should be able to create those moments and create those storylines that are successful with or without the use of extreme advantages.
And that's why I like South African Survivor.
Yeah, South African Survivor is cool. But if your editors can't do that, it's time for new editors. And I will happily offer my services for the low rate of $200,000 per month. And I'll gladly help you out with that, Jeff. So just let me know. I know you're watching right now, so that's my pitch.
So back to Surviving Bloomington.
Sorry.
No, I'm glad that was really fun to talk to you about. But so the votes are cast. Boogie plays the shots in the darks. He plays 2 from the 2 bullets he's found. He's not safe for both. And then the idol train begins.
Oh my
Adam
God.
gets up, plays his idol. That sparks Megan to get up and play her idol, which sparks Mia to get up and play her idol. So everyone, like, I don't know if people were plotting because like they were. I think everyone knows Mia has an idol, so I think people were just stunned she finally played it because she's had it for such a long time, and I was stunned she played it too.
Me too. I'm not sure it was the best move for Mia, but she got votes, and I mean, I kind of get it. Like, this was a really tense tribal. Like, this was 9, so like that's a pretty dicey number, and it's just really hard to know if what you think happens is the reality or just your perception. So and then you see somebody play it and you're like, oh my gosh, well, now Adam's safe, so like if I'm wrong, I'm not going to knock any of them for playing their idols, even though none of them actually needed to. I think they all made sense given the information each player had. I would have too. I would have totally played an idol if I had it.
I think more importantly, we're talking about getting from day 3 to day 4.
Oh, that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's this big threshold that you want to cross is getting to the last day. And so I think playing your idol to help get you there, I think that makes sense because it's such a monumental thing to wake up and say, I'm on the last day of this game.
I agree.
So we talked about earlier was like, we know that Mia and Hannah vote for Adam and Megan, Dallas, Griffin, Jordan vote for Boogie. And so it's interesting with Megan playing her idol of just like, I wonder if that's because she's not sure, like, was the majority votes on Adam, not Boogie, and therefore she thinks she might come in the crossfire and get 2 or 3 votes, or because she thinks people are flipping on her, or just like true precaution. If someone plays an idol, I am playing mine in response. I don't know what was the first on her mind driving
it's
that
hard to
decision.
tell. I used a strategy. I misplayed an idol somewhat. I was happy to misplay it because I wanted to be able to leverage that misplay to decrease my threat level, because I felt like if I could sell these people on I'm not playing a game that is worthy of winning, they may keep me around a little longer than they might otherwise have. What I hope she does, I don't know if that was her intention, but I hope she leverages that misplay into something like, see guys, I'm really not playing that good of a game. Like, I'm making errors too. And if she can, like, I don't know if it's possible for her to switch the opinion that people have of her gameplay, but I wouldn't be surprised if she tried something like that, even if that wasn't her initial intention. But I think honestly, my best guess is it comes from one of the confessionals she said, where she's like, I know I'm the third name on the table, or there's a good likelihood I'm the third name. So when the other name that was potentially on the table now is off limits, and you just don't quite know, it makes sense to me that she wanted to secure.
Because, like, I think it sounds like you and I are both surprised that Mia's came up instead of Megan's, that there had been that switch to that. Because when Mia started getting votes, I'm like, oh my gosh, did she play her idol correctly? Were we totally hoodwinked by the vote count? Then, like, Boogie goes on, I'm like, okay, I guess not. But
yeah, I wonder. I couldn't tell you the rationale of why Adam and Rosie played or voted for Mia. Maybe because Megan now. Yeah.
The relationship with Mia is gone. There's still something that can be struck up with Megan, and so casting your votes on Mia does not hurt them long run.
Yeah.
Right, because Mia clearly just doesn't want to work with them. So, like, I don't know. I think there's rationale for all 3 of the idol plays. Adam, you just don't know where the vote split is happening. Megan, you know your name's on the table, and maybe you don't trust how the split's being done, so things go wrong. It could be on you. And then for Mia, I mean, I guess the same thing. Like, you're kind of like worried, like, man, am I the third name?
Yeah.
And the two big targets have already played their idols, and I know I cast my vote for Adam, and so maybe I'm gonna go. So I don't know. I feel like her, like we said, is the hardest to rationalize, but, like, I think it still makes. I think given 2 other idols, you have an idol, playing it, be safe, get to day 4, you can't fault it.
Not at all. And ultimately, none of them needed it. And Boogie goes home. Wow.
Yeah. So Boogie goes home. 4-0-0 essentially, and I think what the most intriguing is we're entering the last of the game with practically no advantages. There's no idols. I mean, likely there's one in the game hidden, but no player has an idol right now.
Yep. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see how it shakes out, because I think there's still so much room for things to flip. I can't believe that I have to wait another week.
Oh no, I think it's episode 11 dropped yesterday.
Yeah.
You can watch it right now, right? As soon as you're done with this, you can go forth and spoil yourself.
Okay, cool.
See, all part of the plan with our delayed episode recap.
Yes, totally.
So we need to talk about the Bloomie of who is our player of the week. And I feel like, would you like to go first or second?
I'll do whichever you want. I know who I'm saying, so.
All right. Oh man. So I think a couple of names have really stood out this episode. We talked about Rosie and Mia and really kind of see their gameplay. I think the other 2 were Megan and Jordan. Megan was able to kind of rule from the top and get things her way. But I think the person who has to go to is Jordan. Several reasons. I think Jordan's defense of Adam and Rosie and be able to keep them as a side alliance and push the target and Boogie was impressive. Now, it was surprising at first to do that, given that Boogie's from her original tribe, but also given her history in season 4 and seeing how Boogie plays, I do think that pushing for Boogie, keeping Adam, letting Adam be this big target later on is good for her game overall. So I like the fact she was able to do that, accomplish that, because we even saw like her alliance meet without her say, why are we not voting Adam? And yet they still voted Adam, and they still voted Boogie. And then I think she's just it's just very impressive how insulated she is between Rosie, Adam, Hannah, Megan, and then Mia. And so I think I was very impressed with a lot of what we're seeing in the background for her game and what she was able to accomplish this episode.
And for all of those reasons, I also chose Jordan. Yes.
Yeah. When you kind of laid it out early in the episode, I'm like, ooh, I like his points. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to pick the same person.
Yeah, Jordan was definitely the star of the show for me, in spite of all of the antics with the idols, in spite of all of these like side conversations and talking about the swing votes. At the end of the day, everybody defaulted to Jordan. That was Jordan's plan, and that was the plan that went through. And we got to witness all of these other like permutations that could have happened, or potential, offshoots of different alliances that could form. And yet none of it happened. And that is because Jordan is in the game. And it doesn't matter how good of a thought you had or how good your position was. It's not better than Jordan's. And thus she gets the Bloomie.
So I think two things left. The first is, what is your thought on the Magic 8 Ball through these merge episodes?
I feel like I don't really care. I don't care about the Magic 8 Ball.
So you're not caught up in it like I am.
I don't care about the Magic 8 Ball, but it is weird that it keeps popping up. Like I wonder if there's like an inside joke or something within like the contestants, and that's why it's there, like a little Easter egg for them.
Or Casey's not torturing me with my obsession with the Magic 8 Ball, what it could possibly mean.
Casey totally might be torturing you. Like that's the other thing, is I know Casey spends so much time on these episodes that to have something keep repeating, like there's a chance that Casey is like setting something up, but I just don't have the bandwidth to care about the Magic 8 Ball. Is it an idol? Maybe it's an idol.
That's what I've been thinking. Like, is there Magic 8 Ball hidden somewhere for the players to find? And like, or maybe even better than the flip coin, it's the Magic 8 Ball idol, where it's the 1 in 8 shot of you shake it and see if it's safe or not safe.
Wait, what does the Magic 8 Ball? What are the like segments? I don't know what. I've never experienced this.
Oh, so like this episode, the little die inside was turned to reply, Hazy, please try again. So I think it's a standard Magic 8 Ball, and maybe it's an idol, or maybe this is simply what you find in the wilderness in Bloomington, or just Magic 8 Ball sprouting out of the ground. I don't know.
It's very, very, very Indiana. You would totally find that somewhere in the woods. Yeah.
Okay, and then I lied. 2 more things. So. Episode 11, what do you expect to happen?
It's to me, it's either going to be Adam or it's going to be Megan. And I think it will, if one of them wins immunity, the other goes. If neither of them win immunity, I don't know. I think it might be Adam over Megan. I've been wavering. It might be, I'm really split. I feel like I think it would probably be Adam. People would probably want to get him out and weaken him as much as possible. That's what I'm locking my vote in.
All right. I'm going Adam and Rosie.
Okay.
I don't think Megan's going home next episode. And then, do you have a winner prediction?
Oh, I'm keeping it. I mean, I have my Hannah and Rosie
duo.
It's really hard for me to choose between the two. At this moment, if I had to choose between the two of them, I don't want to, so I'm not going to.
Okay, you have 2 of the final 3 locked in.
I'm very confident. I'm very confident at least one gets to the end. I feel like both of them will get there, and I think they will be fighting against each other.
And from the future, Valencia has informed us the next episode will be a good one. So we have to look forward to it.
Woo, cool. What about you?
And so, like, given that I know Hannah, I'd love to see her pull it off. Given Jordan's gameplay, that would be amazing to see. I've been a huge Griffin fan, so it'd be great to see him pull it around the end. Honestly, I think every player, I think we'd be excited to see them pull it out and how they would do it.
I agree, and that's the beauty of this season.
Yeah,
No
but
doubt.
I definitely think we're going to see people come for the Giants game. I think Megan, Jordan, Adam are I don't see those three getting to the final three. I think those three are going to go down. The question is who else is going down between them. I think maybe we see that. I think surprisingly Dallas might have a harder time getting in than I thought he would.
Yep, I could totally see that. And that would leave a final, if those four go, that would be a final four of Hannah, Rosie, Griffin, and Mia. I think that's a very plausible final four. And I think of those four, Mia would be the one to go at 4 if she doesn't win immunity.
Completely agree.
And then it would be a Hannah, Griffin, Rosie final 3. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of game left to be played.
And that would be 1 brain, 1 brawn, and 1 beauty.
I would love that. That would be so cool. Yeah, okay. Oh, so wait, Rosie was brawn and Hannah was
beauty.
Dang, no more. Have brains ever won? Has a brain ever won?
Michelle was beauty and Tony was
brawn.
However, in Australian Survivor, brains versus brawn, a brain didn't win that season, but there was no beauty.
Oh, well, that doesn't count. So okay, so I don't know if we're seeing a brain win this season.
Okay,
I don't think so.
All right. Well, Mitch, anything else you want? Anything you want to shout out or talk about before we wrap up here?
No, thank you so much for having me. Yeah. I'm gonna take a nap and think about Survivor.
Yes. Well, I'm super glad I got to steal you again to talk about the show. Yeah. Thank you, everyone who's tuned in and listened. If you want to watch episode 11, it's already out. I believe it dropped last night, and so you can already jump into the next episode. And I'll be back hopefully next weekend with another recap of episode 11. So thank you all, and have a great rest of your day.
Bye.